racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome back to another season of the iRacing V8 Americas here on SimSpeed TV. We start off at one of the greats within this series, although it is a little bit different this time around. We're at Watkins Glen for round one here in the V8 America series. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me for the first time ever here on SimSpeed, Dan Yeaman. Dan, this is going to be a lot of fun. Watkins Glen, it's a track we know and love. It's a little bit different with the upgrade and the rescan here on iRacing. It's going to make it very, very interesting to watch and very, very fun.
Absolutely, Jay. Thank you for the introduction there, and hello to everyone watching along with us here on SimSpeed. Great to be with you for the first time from the comms box, so fingers crossed all goes well there. But yeah, Watkins Glen updated for the first time on iRacing substantially since its release with iRacing originally in 2008, if you can believe it. Track layout is very much the same as you all know and love, but with the new scan data from 2021 and the updated textures and such that go along with it. Yeah, classic track. I'm familiar with it from GT racing and endurance stuff, such as the 6 hours at the Glen. So the V8's around here. I've seen Scop's footage from here before as well, so looking forward to it. Should be a good one today.
And a layout that's not used too much in this car for this race, using the boot layout. Often when we do the boot, we use the classic boot, but using the inner loop, the bus stop chicane, as well as the boot, means that there's going to be lots of opportunities for overtaking. But one thing it does do as well, provides even more opportunities for mistakes, with this track being so fast, so tight through that boot section, and the walls being really, really close. For a permanent circuit, does have walls rather close.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, now with the extended... wouldn't you say, Joe?
100%. As my apologies, you had some issues with your mic coming through there. But yeah, a really cool schedule. That was at my end, sorry. Watkins Glen, as you said, awesome. Laguna Seca, awesome. But a couple of other layouts that have never been used in this car before as well. That being the all-new Knock Hill. Going to be very, very fun there. Hockenheim Outer, which is a track that was used during the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship in the Dallara IR01. That'll be really cool to watch as well. And we go back to the Nürburgring for the first time in I don't know how long. It's been a long time since I watched a V8 race at the Nürburgring. So that's going to be very, very cool around the WEC layout of the Grand Prix circuit. So looking forward to that. As for today's race, decent length race for this one. 24 laps, just over 133 Ks. Pretty easy pit window too. Get about 16 laps to a tank, so you got anywhere from that 1/3 to 2/3 race distance. You can break it up into 2 even segments, or you can split it up a little bit more alternative and see how you go with your fuel in that way. One thing we were talking about before we started this one is how much of an international flair there is in this race this week. Drivers from Singapore, Japan, USA, Canada, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So fairly international flavour in this one today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the Americas Series, but as it happens to turn out, we actually are on Australian server this afternoon due to the strong turnout, as you might expect, for the Supercar and Australia-New Zealand drivers here on iRacing. But yeah, it's good to see we've got a couple of guys from overseas racing with us here this afternoon. Always good to see that drivers outside of Australia and New Zealand are taking to the Supercar and are getting behind it and getting some official races in.
19 car field for this one. So we've ended up with 2 splits, which is always great to see. A couple of splits of racing always means that we've had a good turnout in regards to driver numbers. So only one driver yet to put in a time. That is the driver on screen of Rich Minkler, who is the only American in the series, in this race, I should say. Definitely not in the series, quite a few. But he will cross the line 1 minute 50 flat, a little bit off the pace, but I think being off the pace isn't necessarily the worst thing around this track. Being consistent and being able to make sure you keep it between those white lines, a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, with this car, I'm not the biggest driver of it personally, despite being Australian born and bred, so obviously a fan of the series in real life. But yeah, it's a very tricky car to master. Very easy to spin up the rear wheels, I'm sure most are aware of. No anti-lock brakes, so can quite easily pinch those front tyres, or the rears for good measure if you're aggressively downshifting into corners. So it does take a lot of patience and a lot of delicacy to get it right. So absolutely, whilst maybe not having the fastest qualifying time does put you towards the back here for the start of the race, if you can just nail lap after lap and keep in a rhythm and look after the car, I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those drivers work their way forwards as the race goes on here today.
One thing about this track too is there's always regardless of the quality of the field, whether you've got a really high or really low ranked field, you've always got a big incident that happens through this section right here, which Mike Taliancic is going through, up through the S's, up the hill. There is always something that happens there at some point in the race. Keeping it out of that outside wall, up the hill on the driver's side, is easier said than done, as qualifying is officially over. Go through our grid. For the first time this season, Brad Ryan will start on pole alongside Sean McNamara. We've got Sebastian Tixier and Charlie Stone on row number 2 and all international row 2. At row 3 there with James Chastanoff and Troy Maguire. Row 4 will be Thomas Freeman and Thomas Hinds. We got Paul Young, Michael Whiting, then Tim Mulford and Simon Hederscheid rounding out the top 12. From there we've got Michael Taliancic and David Coleman. Joe Kanataki back for another season, great to see, with Andrew Ritchie, Stephen Banks, Dale Green rounding out our top 18. And as we said, our 19th driver is that driver of Rich Minkler. As we said before too, 24 laps. Strategy-wise, very, very easy to work out. You're going to stop around halfway. The earliest you can stop if you've got issues or want to try and break that strategy is from the end of lap 8, start of lap 9. But most guys will sort of wave around that mid-point of the race because the tyre drop-off does start quite severe, but after that it does level out quite a bit. So we may not see too much fluctuation in that strategy. Undercut usually works okay, but overcut occasionally will be a surprisingly good strategy.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that one for sure. Yeah, as you said, I think it'd be pretty surprising if we see too many cars pit too far outside that halfway mark, given the way the tyres work here on this car. But absolutely, we'll be curious to see who gets the undercut to work best, if anyone can make the overcut work today, and keep our eyes posted. Looks like we've got a couple of drivers still waiting to join the grid here before we can get underway. So Revs coming up on screen now, folks. V8 America's Season 1 2022 is almost ready to go. And there we are, lights out, away we go for the first race of the season here on SimSpeed. Looks like the front of the field has gotten away all right as we head into turn 1. And in fact, looks like the whole field is getting away quite nicely indeed as we start to go to... Oh, never mind I say that. We've got a spin on the exit of turn 1. Sean McNamara in the Racecraft Commodore around on the inside, and other cars in the outside fence too. Oh, it's gotten
Michael
messy
Whiting
here, folks.
Yep, Michael Whiting involved, David Coleman involved as well. Two of the three fishy cars in the race, both involved. They're very, very early, and Rich Minkler also involved too, who's right at the back of that. On at the front, Brad Ryan's chased away, and James Chastanoff holding off a big train of cars behind. Charlie Stone, Thomas Freeman in there too. Troy Maguire, the only fishy car that's got away at the start of this race. Heartbreak for that team. You've got very, very nice looking cars, but they don't look too good when they've got a heap of damage.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's good to see everyone starting to calm down and get into single file. As I say that, coming down into the boot for the first time. We've got one of the Jinx Shifters cars there of Thomas Hinds just looking to the inside of Hederscheid, but falling back in line. Further up, though, as we get into the toe of the boot, we are too wide. Looks like we've got Tixier getting up the inside there of Troy Maguire, having looked to go around the outside. That's not worked for them, though, but field starting to compress once again as we make our way out of the boot for the first time. We've got Freeman and Chastanoff side by side. Freeman looking for the run around the outside. It's not going to work, though, as Chastanoff holds on to second place for this end part of the first lap. But anything can go here, as it looks like everyone is racing hard and racing fast today.
Simon Hederscheid's got through on Thomas Hinds, and he's left a little wide there too, so Mike Taliancic is just going to try and take the spot, but Hinds will move across and cover it off. So, wow, what a chaotic start to this race. Brad Ryan at the front, he doesn't care about what's happened behind him. He's already broken away to a 2-second lead. Chastanoff starting to break away from that secondary group now. And Charlie Stone, Thomas Freeman, Sebastian Tixier, and Troy Maguire all trying to fight for that third spot. What a crazy start. We're going to replay the race start in just a minute. There was definitely some contact which started that chaotic scene at the start. Has hurt two drivers badly. A couple others have got away and been able to continue on.
As you say, we've got contact at the top of the S's on lap 2 there. Just before we got to replay, it's Simon Hederscheid. He's hit the fence on the way up the hill. Lost at least 3 places, I think, but I think the car's in good shape. He's braking early for the inner loop chicane. Just ahead, though, we've got Taliancic and Hinds going at it, and a car spinning in behind as well.
Oh, Mulford.
Oh, we've got more contact. It's all over the place. Tim Mulford there has gotten loose, and that's taken Andrew Ritchie with him there in the number 14. Just as we're hoping to get a moment for the Virtual Racing School replay, it keeps coming, folks. So here's got the run here for header shot up the hill on lap 2 through the S's. Car just doesn't hook to the left through that corner and just whacks the wall incredibly hard, you might have to say, and allowed that Hinz and Taliancic to go through immediately afterwards, and then it just went into a bit of a domino reaction there.
This is Mulford. He just jumped over the curb, and there was contact actually between Heddershide and Mulford, and then you see there the contact there. Andrew Ritchie really didn't do too much wrong at the start of that one. And we go to the race start. Now, you can see there McNamara running a little wide, and then just a little bit of contact between he and Charlie Stone. Stone loops him around, and you see Chastanoff, big advantage there, and that's where the damage to the front of Sebastian Tixier's cars come from. You'll just see here there'll be a new or another bit of contact. They're Whiting trying to get past, and he's actually made contact with his teammate. Teammates have come together there.
Yes, it looks, Whiting there coming across to try and get past. Looks like Mulford was slow there on the exit of 1, avoiding the already spun McNamara, and has unfortunately taken his teammate Coleman with him, and then up and over the top there of a Mustang, which then grabs Rich Minkler. So, unfortunately, a messy start, as we were talking about there, all the way out of turn 1. Unfortunately, this has left several guys out of the running early on here in this one today. Back to live pictures, though, as the cars head out of the inner loop chicane to head down to the boot on lap number 3 here, as we're watching the battle with Freeman, Stone and Tixier for 3rd place here on track. Looks like we might just finally be calming down a little bit here today and getting ourselves into a bit of a rhythm as these guys work their way across the lap. Fingers crossed, Jay, we can settle down and try and watch this and provide some commentary on this one without having to get too excited about accidents. As I say that, though, side by side as we head towards the end of the boot there. But that's going to be Freeman making an attempt on Stone and not being able to pull it off. And it puts Tixier right on his back once again, though. So that fight certainly is going to continue for a while here. But good drive off the top of the corner there for Freeman. Sorry, Jay.
I was just going to say, interesting the amount of gap that there's ended up being between Hinz and Taliancic. Remember, they were side by side before we went to that replay into the bus stop chicane. 1 and a bit laps later, there was 2.5 second gap between them. So they've had a little bit of an issue while we were watching those replays. So Hinz now starting to break away. Although in saying that, Taliancic is faster that lap by than Hinz. So Taliancic might close back up to the back of Thomas Hinz and turn that fight for 7th with Troy Maguire into a 3-car battle. Very, very nice run up the hill for Hinz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tallies and Hinz both old faces and familiar faces within the iRacing community and the V8 Supercar community, but on board with here with the Hinz down the back straight, looking for the pass into the chicane. But Maguire just darts inside a little bit under brakes there to cover that one off. Although he gets a little loose on the exit there, almost, I think, lost the rear end, to be honest, but holds onto it through the outer loop carousel section here. And he's just got a little buffer as we head down into the boot here on lap number 4. So Hinz, I think, looking to bide his time, you would think, and hopefully slowly work his way towards the front of the field. But yeah, if he gets held up here for a while, we could easily see Taliancic claw that gap back and make it a 3-car fight for 7th, absolutely.
At the moment, the gap between Hinz and Taliancic is around 2.2 seconds. This battle for 3rd continues on. Chasnov now 1.5 seconds ahead of Charlie Stone, who is leading this 3-car train for 3rd place. Just seeing as well, Simon Heddershide's had another issue out on track, but these 3 rather close. I'm going to guess that Charlie Stone's probably feeling slightly sheepish. I mean, he didn't do too much wrong in turn 1, but there was contact, and regardless of if you feel like you're at fault or not, you do often feel guilty or a little, sheepish when you do make contact with someone at the front of the field, which almost ends their race or does end their race.
Yeah, absolutely. Lap 1, turn 1 is possibly one of the worst places to have an accident. It looks like a little too deep from Charlie on the brakes there. McNamara was also a little deep himself, but just sort of opened up the door for that incident to occur, unfortunately. It's never a good feeling to be caught up in an incident and to be partially irresponsible. So definitely not the best of starts for him, but he's done well here to recover and save some face, holding on to third place here at the moment. Freeman behind. Obviously the draft helping him up the straight there, but not close enough this time by to make a move. So just having to settle in and maybe look to set up a move elsewhere on the lap. He's definitely showing the nose as we're approaching the braking zones here. So definitely just trying to keep Stone looking in his mirrors. But having said that, Charlie's doing a decent job here of eyes forward and keeping focus on the task at hand, given the challenge of these cars, needing to drive these things with a careful right foot to be sure.
Doing a pretty good job in regards to pace as well. So lap time wise, pretty much matched the guys around him pace wise. So they're all very evenly matched in regards to pace, but this will slow them down. Side by side action. I'll tell you what, Tixier thought about throwing it up the inside there towards the exit. I reckon if that wasn't a teammate and Thomas Freeman ahead of Tixier, that would have been side by side all the way as we rejoin. There's a little bit of light flashing going on there as well. So starting to get a little bit aggressive in this group. They complete 5, 19 to go, still plenty of racing left, a pit stop still to come. Going to make this very, very interesting. As we said, they require around about 8 laps extra fuel in the car, so you can pit by around the end of lap 8 up to the end of lap 16. But we'll probably see everyone come in between laps 10 and 14. It's due to the nature of this car. Tell you what, Freeman's trying to use every single bit of track and more to try and get some momentum up the hill. Still not quite close enough. He's closer than he's been, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough to get the move done into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, we were just talking about how Charlie Stone had it under control earlier there, and Freeman made a move back with the exit of the boot there. But as you were saying there, Jade, not quite close enough at the top of the hill through the S's. Just further back behind, though, we've just noticed Thomas Hinds making his way through on Troy Maguire that time by. Maguire looked like he pulled out early and got on the brakes just to let Hinds through before the braking zone at the inner loop chicane to make that nice and easy. So now we'll see if Maguire was just looking there to perhaps slot in behind, get a bit of fuel saving on, and also not hold Hinds up too much. But once again, back up towards the battle for third. It's still on, absolutely. Freeman getting an excellent run off of the toe of the boot there. Stone immediately defensive to the middle of the track. We're going to get side by side under brakes once again at this same corner. We had this just last lap. Oh, very close nose to tail. Stone defensive again up to turn number 9.
There was definitely contact there.
Freeman's looking for every which way through here, but I have to say it's an excellent bit of defensive driving from Stone. Freeman on the headlights, not happy about it, but that's good defense in hard racing, even though it's possibly a little early to be all over it. I guess perhaps Charlie here thinking that if he lets Freeman go, that's the end of his attempt, a chance of holding on to third place here. So, but it's perhaps a little early, Jay, but I guess it's all relatively reasonable, so long as he's not moving under brakes and risking an incident. All's relatively fair there. It's pretty wide through turn 1 for both Stone and Freeman. As we head up the hill through the S's, Freeman is all over the back this time. Odds on a move, do we think? Oh, having said that, just drops off the back at the top of the hill, Jay.
I think he was a little unsettled. Might have got a little bit too close too early and unsettled the car a little bit. And Stone, well, that was a little bit cheeky there to move back across to the racing line. But he's doing enough and not causing any issues within the group. In saying that, there is a fourth car not far off joining the battle at the back there, that being Paul Young. Not too far off closing in and making this a 4-car battle, and not far behind him is Thomas Hinds starting to close in this group as well. So you could end up with a 5-car fight for this final podium spot. At the front of the field, Ryan's checked out with 3.5 second lead. Castanov's pulled away from these guys as well, 2.5 seconds. So this fighting is starting to cause some issues and slowing these guys up just a little bit.
Yeah, just having a look back at the lap times for Paul Young back in 6th place versus this trio ahead. Gap was only about 2 to 3 tenths on the last lap, but then we go look at lap 5, similar tenth or 2 for Young. So he's starting to chip away consistently on this group of cars, and yeah, give it another 2 or 3 laps at this rate, I reckon, and he'll start getting the draft off of Tixier at the back of the train, who himself, Tixier, is waiting to try and get a good move on these guys. Obviously, yeah, as you said earlier there, Jay, just having to be mindful of the fact that Thomas Freeman is directly ahead of him, teammates at Premier Racing Team, so obviously needs to be careful to not send it in too hard, try and let Freeman do the work here on Charlie Stone and then capitalise and work together to break away once that's all said and done.
Wondering too if Tixier is taking this opportunity and probably playing it smart in regards to fuel conservation, because sure, not much fuel you need, but if you can save enough to maybe give you, 0.7 of a second quicker pit stop than the guy you're battling, that's a huge advantage in regards to how much time you've stopped, especially when we're seeing guys 0.7 of a second is Charlie Stone back double the gap back to Sebastian Tixier. If Tixier can save maybe 3 litres of fuel in this phase, unlikely to save that much with how aggressive they're being, but it doesn't take much to get a big advantage at the pit stops, and we've said many times before, it is much easier to pass cars in the pit lane than it is out on the track.
Oh, absolutely. The strategy out here on track is very much only one part of the equation. The strategy in pit lane is going to be another one. So on board with Freeman here, looking back at Tixier in 6th. Didn't quite have the best run through the middle of the toe of the boot there, Freeman, but he's opened up a little bit of a gap. Tixier probably lifting out, one would think. Might want to jump on board. I might want to jump on board with Tixier in a little bit and just see if I can actually listen out for any fuel saving. In the meantime, though, as we got to the end of the boot here and come up to the top of it, Freeman's just broken away from Tixier again and on the back of Stone. So interesting to see here the strengths and weaknesses of each driver and where they're at in terms of pace and where they're able to maximise it. It seems to be varying depending on where we are on the circuit, certain strengths and weaknesses. Just looking further back in the field with Michael Taliancic currently riding in 9th position, but not too far off the back of Troy Maguire there in 8th, who's still trailing Thomas Hinz, but Maguire a little loose and definitely Tally closer this time, I think, than ever before. Looking at the lap times.
Talking about pace, Taliancic is the fastest car on track at the moment, faster than Brad Ryan, albeit by a couple of thousandths of a second. But Taliancic is the fastest car on track, so he's closed that gap down. Remember, it was about 2.5 seconds. He was back behind Thomas Hinz. I'll have a look at that now. There's only a second between all three.
Absolutely, a 147.99 last time round for Taliancic. Faster than Troy Maguire by almost 0.6 of a second, pardon. The 148.5 last lap for Maguire, directly ahead of Tally here. As you can see there, 147.994 for Brad Ryan out in front. So Tally, whilst back in the pack here, certainly showing that he's got the speed in this mid-phase of the stint as the fuel burns off, and the drivers are still looking to manage their tyres here. As we start making our way towards the pit window, just going to actually look forward again, because again, we've got side-by-side up towards the end of the boot. This time it's up the inside for Freeman at turn number 8, and it looks like he's going to get the job done here. Stone absolutely looking to keep the overlap on as we go. In fact, he gets the overlap on the outside of turn 9, but he's going to tuck back in here behind and try and straighten the exit. So it's taken 8 and 3/4 laps, but job done for Thomas Freeman to get past Charlie Stone and put himself up into 3rd place here, Jay. Now I guess we'll see how long until Tixier tries to follow through to keep those Premier Racing Team cars line astern on track.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Tixier come into the pits this lap. I mean, his pace is very evenly matched, but it's not that good that he's going to wildly get past. Interesting pit-wise. One driver that I'm not surprised to come in early, someone that always does the opposite to nearly everyone in the field in regards to pit strategies, Mike Taliancic. Usually in seasons past, it was him going a lap longer than absolutely everybody thought was possible, but today he's coming in at the earliest possible moment. Charlie Stone doing enough to hold off Tixier, and you can see too, Paul Young in the background, his pace very, very close to these guys, that much so that he's within a second and may be able to close up once he gets a bit of draft down these straights.
Yeah, last lap round, Young 4/10 faster than Tixier, 148.8 for Tixier there in 6th versus a 148.4 for Young. So just steadily making inroads. In fact, looking at the lap time history, it's Tixier a little bit more variable, obviously being at the back of the 3-car train. He's sort of fluctuating depending on what's happening directly ahead, but Young's just, steadily working on. In fact, Young's last 5 laps just consistently within 0.2 of each other. 148.3 is his fastest lap in that sort of period, which is back on lap 5. The worst is basically 2/10 slower on a 148.53. So good consistency from Paul here, now running in 6th position as he chases down the fight for 3rd. So yeah, pit stop's obviously coming soon. In fact, speaking of that, here comes Charlie Stone to the pit lane from 4th position. So finally decide the tyres are done, and Thomas Hinz following in from behind out of position number 8, if I'm not mistaken. So see now, where is Michael Taliancic on track while we're at it. In fact, while this is all happening, we've got more cars coming down the lane here at the end of lap number 10. And the number 15 of Dale Green immediately followed by Stephen Banks in the number 18. In fact, Banks there quite aggressive on pit entry, but does a good job there to minimise the time loss. So, got cars in the pit lane. Here's Mike Taliancic after doing his pit stop already. Oh, a little wide through the final corner. Didn't quite get it pulled up there. See if that hurts him a lot. Cars are leaving their pit boxes now. Charlie Stone just crossing the line. Might be actually, looks like Stone's going to get ahead here. And in fact, Callie is going to leapfrog Thomas Hinz in the pit stop cycle.
Yep. Very, very good job from Taliancic. The difference in 1 lap of tyre degradation probably not going to be enough for Hinz to close that back in. So Hinzy will be a little bit upset about that. But one thing that he does have an advantage over is Paul Young in regards to his pit stop, which will be coming up soon. This is a great stop from Taliancic. Pit stop time pretty much identical for all 3 guys. Charlie Stone a little bit slower in regards to the stop than the others, but of course you think in regards to him leading the train the whole way through that phase, he was at the front of the queue, so he would have used more fuel at the front of the field. Brad Ryan's going to continue on for another lap. Chastain, he will come in this time.
Yep, definitely taking the opportunity there to get the car in here as we end lap number 11, and immediately followed by Thomas Freeman out of 3rd position as well. So this will be interesting to see now. Can Charlie Stone, having pitted that lap earlier than Freeman, use the undercut here to his advantage as we look back at Sean McNamara, currently recovering and in 7th place, so as he comes into the pits this time by to make his pit stop for the race. That will send him back down the order a little bit as the pit cycle sorts itself out here.
A bit of damage on the side of McNamara's car there. I'd never noticed that earlier, but that right-hand rear wheel heavily exposed, so probably lucky that he hasn't had a tyre issue from that. Chastaneuf away, no surprise that he will lead the group, but Charlie Stone, Thomas Freeman are going to be very, very close here. And Stone running very wide, he'll come out just ahead of Freeman. Taliancic isn't too far behind as well.
Yeah, that undercut has worked very well for Taliancic, and he's back on the pace once again in the mid-147s. In fact, would have been the fastest lap of the race, I believe, outright, apart from what must have been an off-track since it hasn't registered as such. 147.5 from him. Okay, I take that back, unfortunately. We had
Brad
faster
Ryan
laps
earlier at the start. Yeah, he did a 47 flat, but it would have been Taliancic's best lap of the race for sure. But yeah, his pace looks really good. The downfall is got to worry about Thomas Hinz, who will be on his fastest lap probably for the race. Of course, he'll have less fuel in the car now than he did at the very start of the race. Better tyres, better understanding of the circuit. Brad Ryan comes around the complete half race distance and will
stay out once again. Although, as we see them behind, Tixier and Young into the pit lane there out of 2nd and 3rd. That allows Troy Maguire to continue on here. And actually see he's going for the overcut as we were talking about at the start of the broadcast. It looks like the undercut has been the most successful strategy so far, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess, if the tyre life towards the end of the race can help. We'll just here with Sho Kanatake as he dives into the lane. That'll drop him out of 5th position on track. He's done a good job here. Sho, his car does look a little bit roughed up. That might have been from the lap 1 incident and just having to try and navigate his way through that. But nothing wrong with a quiet race. And in fact, we've just got the guys coming off pit lane, and that has definitely hurt Tixier a little bit, I think. Well, he slots in at the he slots in at the back of slots back in at the back of the Trez. So I guess this is curious to see, but he's got Taliancic now at most a second behind. In fact, looking at my data, we're talking not much at all between the two of them. So he's going to have his eyes in the mirror again, but also try and keep eyes forward and get back onto the pair of Freeman and Stone, who are at it once again. Freeman with the draft down the back straight, but not able to close up enough to get alongside before the inner loop. So setting up for an attack. Meanwhile, further back in the pack, fights are on. Dale Green, Sean McNamara. McNamara looking for the inside into the inner loop chicane. Has he got up far enough? Yes, he doesn't. Late on the brakes. Not too hard fought Lord by Dale Green. So smart driving there from Green and McNamara both to make that exchange of position relatively painless and keep on racing. That leaves now a 3-car fight there for 10th place. But the battle for third once again is on, and 3 cars line astern with several more only a handful of seconds down the road. Oh, big slide for Stone. Freeman immediately looks for the inside. Oh, bit of grass almost for everyone involved there, but it's going to be Freeman up the inside once again. Tixier looking for the move too. This can cause maximum advantage. Just in the meantime there, we saw Brad Ryan come in from the lead of the race. Troy Maguire staying out to take the current lead of the race, so obviously that will change as time goes on. But with this, Freeman gets past Charlie Stone once again and is immediately breaking clear by several tenths of a second. And in fact, this is going to be close here on pit exit. Chastanev is going to be on... Oh, a little wide for Stone in the background, mind you, but just as I was saying that, Chastanev has closed the gap to Brad Ryan quite substantially thanks to the undercut. So we'll see now if that can give Ryan the advantage, as the race goes on and those tyres can perform for him. At least he doesn't have to save them as much. This fight continues once again, but Stone's got a good run through the S's, and it just means he's got that breather through the inner loop chicane once again, Jay.
One thing we were sort of talking about before was maybe Tixier was saving a bit of fuel. Interesting, Tixier, shortest pit stop time out of everybody in the field. Longest pit stop time for McNamara. He would have taken a bit of damage repair. But the other drivers with long stops were the guys that were not in battles. Brad Ryan, James Chastanoff, they all had longer stops. Charlie Stone was longer than the other guys in the group. So that tiny little bit of fuel saving that Tixier was able to do, that others in that sort of group were able to do, has been a big advantage as Charlie Stone and Sebastian Tixier. This is finally going to be a move. It's only taken Tixier 13 odd laps to get a move done, but he's finally gotten through on Charlie Stone as Troy Maguire comes in. So all the pit stops are done. Wow, what a battle this has been the whole way through this race. It's been a great fight between these guys.
And it's still going on, Jay. Absolutely. Stone looking for the better run off the inside. He's not there. They're going to have to slot back in through the penultimate corner, but that allows Taliancic and Hinds to close right up now. So Freeman is away and looks like he's going to be able to hold on to 4th place now. Guys only just hit his pit box, so that will be third corrected as they come across the start-finish line and head down to turn 1 this time to start lap number 15. And that is just 10 laps to go here, folks. Stone, once again, decent run through turn 1. But I was just going to say there as we were watching Tixier make the move on Stone is Charlie does seem to be struggling through the toe of the boot. Doesn't have the drive off corner exit, and that's where we saw Freeman get the run and get to the inside before turn number 8. And Tixier did exactly the same thing. This time up the back straight. Stone not able to close up on Tixier, and in fact it's actually allowed Taliancic to close in a little bit there on him. So this battle pack starting to shuffle a little bit. It's on my timing showing is the battle for 4th, stretching from Tixier back to Hinds. Although in this case I guess we can say it's starting to spread out and possibly become more of just a 2-car fight for 5th here between Stone and Taliancic.
And Hinds, of course, not too far away. Very, very similar pit stop strategy. Remember, the one thing that does play into Charlie Stone's favour is if he can hold off Mike Taliancic by the end of the race, Tally's tyres will be a lot worse off than Stone's. The positive for Taliancic is the degradation in these cars does plateau quite a lot. So while there is a fairly extreme fall off at the start, it does plateau and level out before it goes away again right at the end of the stint. But these races haven't really been long enough in the past to see that secondary drop-off. At the front of the field, Brad Ryan's about to come and complete his first flying lap on this tyre set. And I think we might see our first time in the 1 minute 16 Sorry, 1 minute 46 bracket and right on cue. We do.
Absolutely, yes. Fastest lap of the race, a 146.609 or 610 there as your overlay shows. So showing that the overcut's certainly working in his favour. In fact, looking back to Chastanet in second, he pulled over 1 second on that last lap alone. So I think business as usual up front as Ryan can really attack his set of tyres here. Because as you were saying, with that lack of secondary degradation, I don't see, apart from a major mistake in some big 11s out of a corner from someone up front, I don't think guys like Taliancic will struggle too hard with the tyre wear, and to be honest, should be able to keep the pace and the pressure on guys like Charlie Stone, despite the difference in their first stint length.
One thing that Taliancic is very, very good at, and has shown in previous races in this series, at Scops as well, is that he's very, very good in regards to conserving tyres and making sure they've got longevity. And that will not help Charlie Stone's tyres. Getting it sideways out of the toe will not help the tyre life, will not help the heat in the tyres. Also doesn't help the momentum as around the outside comes Taliancic. You can hold that outside. Oh, a little bit of contact.
No.
Here comes Hins.
Yep, Stone always been aggressive on the defense when he's given the chance to go to the middle of track there at turn 8. It's allowed Hins around the outside by turn number 9, so Tally's going to have to slot back in here. And not too happy with that on the radio just now. So Stone holds on to 5th place for the moment. But once again, just the line that he's trying to find through the toe of the boot there at turn 7 just isn't giving him the drive off of the corner exit that he needs to be able to defend the position comfortably. Hins just shows the nose, but has to stay in line. But it's compromised his run through turn 1 here a little bit. Gives Stone a bit of breathing room and puts Tally right on Hins' rear bumper as we head up the hill once again.
One thing about that line, though, it does sort of give you a little bit of a slingshot effect, and Stone a little bit all over the shop up the hill. And Hins, we've already seen make a couple of moves into the bus stop chicane, but one
He's
guy
going to
that
have to watch out for Tally behind.
Oh, nice move, Taliancic getting back through. How did he do that? He was nowhere near close enough, and all of a sudden he's through.
He definitely had the run up the hill through the S's and maximised the draft down the back straight there. But that narrow entry into the inner loop chicane, it took a lot of negotiation and considerate driving from both drivers. But he's just locked the front tyre up into turn 6 to shoot, and he's going to let him straight back through. It's also given Charlie Stone a breather here as these guys scrap over this top 5, or the fight to get back up to Charlie, who's currently sitting in 5th place. So this race is starting to really, as we can see, tyres starting to wear, drivers starting to make a few more mistakes under brakes and under throttle, and having to really try and reset and manage the car once again so they can go on the attack, because otherwise if I keep this up, I feel like we're going to see more contact and more substantial contact if the fighting that we're seeing back there for 6th carries on. Just looking back up towards the front of the field here with James Chastanet running in 2nd, but he's got Tom Freeman and Sebastian Tixier right behind him. In fact, Freeman quite literally all over the back of Chastanet now. Looks like, Chastanet really struggling for pace here in this second tyre stint and this end phase of the race. And it means that Freeman running nice and wide through exit of turn 1 to maximise the run up the hill. Have to keep an eye on him here. Can he get the draft? Once again, through the S's, Freeman struggling. In fact, behind we've got Tixier in the fence. He's going to lose it at the top of the S's. Does he hold it? Does he hold it? Yes. Just though. Goodness me, I just heard the contact as we were keeping eyes on the battle for 2nd place. But Tixier, that's going to hurt the car some more. Already a bit scuffed in the front right, Jay. And Virtual School Replay going to show us how that happened up the hill. So it just runs just a little wide up the hill, gets offline, finds the fence. As you said in the pre-race roll there, Jay, no margin for error up the S's, and it's looks like it hasn't hurt the car too much. He did have some damage there on the right front from an earlier scuffle, possibly, I believe, lap 1, turn 1. So we'll have to wait and see if that has hurt his car any more.
Steering straight, that's a positive sign.
That is true. Oh, and saying that, gets the rear end a little bit crossed up, under braking and on corner exit. Sebastian obviously needs to be careful not to overdrive the car now just to try and get back that time. So it looks like he's going to fall back into the clutches of Charlie Stone here if he's not careful at this rate, which means that we could have a big cut. We're going to have possibly a 5-car train in the fight for 4th place. So keep your eyes posted on this one, folks. This battle is far from done.
On that, Tixier will be struggling for a little bit because his rear tyres will be hyperheated from the extra control he had to put into the car. Done very, very well to keep it out of the wall, but for the second time that was when he nearly lost the rear. You know, those that have been watching SimSpeed for forever will know that portion of the wall was named Madison's Wall because Madison Down used to hit it every single race we ever did at this track back in the day. Been a very, very familiar sight in V8 racing on iRacing to see someone hit that wall there. Usually was the Trans-Tasman racing car of Madison Down, but someone always finds that wall, and it's usually in the latter half or latter stages of the race when concentration levels start to wander, tyre life starts to go, and the pushing starts to go a little bit more extreme because guys are getting a little more desperate. Speaking of desperate, Hinz is still trying to get their spot back after closing the gap back down very, very quickly.
Yeah, again, all over the back of Charlie Stone here in the battle for 5th place. You see here through the toe of the boot, can Stone get the drive off the corner he needs? The answer is maybe. Hinz was slower through the mid part, but it looks like he might be safe this time short of a bit of an ambitious dive from Hinz. The answer is that's not going to happen this time, Bite. Tucks back in once again at turn number 8. He's got a little bit of a gap here to Taliancic behind. A little slide on exit. That shouldn't hurt the tyres too much, you'd think. But again, just the back and forth from this little group of cars is meaning that Charlie Stone can sit out in front, but is definitely under pressure. Another Virtual School Racing replay coming up for us here. Just looking at Mike Taliancic, and I believe this looks like we're heading either into the toe of the boot. Yeah, sorry, just the cockpit camera. Let me a bit of that. And a big sideways snap there. That explains the breather that Hinz got through turn number 8. So yeah, I was saying that tyre life shouldn't be an issue, but maybe, I guess I spoke too soon on that one, as we saw Tally come in first for the pit stops. Back up front, though, the fight for second is on still. Chasnev holding off Thomas Freeman ever so slightly, and again, Freeman doesn't look like he's got the straight line speed in the draft to get the move done here at the inner loop chicane, so he's going to have to stay in behind once more and try and press the advantage here through the heel, down through the boot. In fact, in saying that, very close on exit as we head into turn number 6, but not able to get alongside under brakes. And thanks to Jay here, able to get side-by-side camera action, which is great because with these two fights on track at the same time, it's definitely takes a bit of concentration to be able to keep our eyes on it. So you see on the left of screen, Chasnev and Freeman fighting over second, and on the right side of screen, that 4-car scrap with Charlie Stone at the front for 5th, followed by Hinz, Taliancic, and Young.
Wondering
Hinz looking
if
sorry, good.
just going to say, wondering if setup for the Premier cars is something with them being close in the draft, because we've seen Freeman have troubles tucked up underneath someone. He's had to get out of the throttle through the switch back through the S's. Seen Tixier hit the wall and also have to drop out in regards to pace at some points as well. So I'm wondering if there's some things in regards to the way that they've set up the cars that is really unsettling the car through that section.
You think so, yeah. Given the caliber of driving we've seen in this race today has been quite good, and a decent range of skill. In fact, so looking at things like iRating at the moment, Chasnev 4,700, almost 4,800, and Thomas Freeman knocking on the door 4,200 iRating respectively. So both guys clearly showing that they've got the skill in official races and in the V8 too. But yeah, once again, Freeman just not able to keep the throttle perhaps at 100% up the hill there, and it's just costing him the chance to stay right up on the bumper of Chasnev in this case and press the attack into the chicane. Once again, Thomas Hinz all over the back of Charlie Stone, but unable to get alongside. Stone seems to have that run up the S's sorted out very nicely and allow him to just have confidence to get through the chicane there and not have to defend too hard.
I definitely think there's something with the way the Premier cars are set up, because I was watching the live speed up the hill. They both hit 230 at the exact same time, that being Chastanoff and Freeman, and then as they changed direction, Freeman dropped back to 220 and Chastanoff still accelerated. So there's definitely something in the way that the Premier cars are handling that section of the circuit, not able to maintain full throttle. They're not able to continue to push as hard as they were. This battle here continues on, but Freeman's going to struggle to get this done if he can't use that draft.
Yeah, it's going to make him extremely vulnerable if he actually does get through here, as we're approaching 3 laps to go here. There's Brad Ryan out in front, all on his lonesome. We've almost been a little bit cruel to him, to be honest, because he's been out in front.
No pressure. He won't mind.
No pressure whatsoever. So he's been minding his own business, and we'll keep an eye on him as the race goes on. But 3 laps to go for the field at the front here. Looks like it's very much all under control for P1, but P2 and P5 certainly undecided. As Freeman looking for the nose at turn number 2 up the S's, has to back out, and that's really hurt the run and given Chastanoff even more breathing room. On the headlights there from Freeman.
They were identical speeds up until that point that Freeman had to get out of the throttle. It's only taken to just before the braking zone for him to get back up to that same speed using the draft. So definitely something with the way that car's performing. It's not handling that uphill section at all.
Absolutely. I mean, in saying that, Freeman does look like he's got a car that's more comfortable and got more grip perhaps through the boot here. Absolutely. Unfortunately, he's just, not able to be close enough to really set up a move, and perhaps still biding his time and just waiting until the last couple of opportunities, I should say, as he looks to go wide through the toe of the boot and straighten the exit there to get the better run as we head down to turn number 8 with these pair once again. It is working for him in terms of closing the gap ever so slightly, but I have to say I didn't look, and I probably should look next time to see if he actually is gaining more than he's losing by taking that wide line through the middle of the corner there.
Let's listen as they come up the hill and see how much of the throttle he actually gets out of, because it's evident when you're looking at live speed and that sort of data, but is it evident from the onboard? Can we hear him get out of the throttle? We'll listen in when we get to that point in just a moment, but not long left in this race. Only 2 laps to go. 2 opportunities for Freeman to get past, you would think. Not quite close enough. Or is he?
Yeah, good speed down the front straight. He looks for the move, and in fact, Chastanoff gives the space. They're going to be side by side as we come up the S's, turns 2 and 3. Is space given? The answer is just. And they slot back in. There's a lift from Chastanoff. I just jumped on board with him to obviously navigate that, but that's given Freeman the run as we make our way down the back straight this time. Freeman with the overlap, but he's on the outside into the inner loop. Has to tuck back in behind once again. So showing the nose, almost got the job done there at turn number 1, but good respect from both these guys. And saying that, little tap through turn 5 at the carousel here. Side by side to turn 6. Can he get clear? Chastanoff says no and sticks the nose back in here. Going to keep going side by side, and the outside line doesn't work for Freeman this time by. He's going to have to slot back in for 3rd for a moment. And meanwhile, we need the side-by-side footage, because as you can see, thanks Jay, Thomas Inns gets the job done on Charlie Stone with 1.5 laps remaining. Taliancic looking for the move as well, but I don't want to get it done just yet. But so that battle for 5th is still on, possibly, if Stone can get that car settled and make one last attack. But Taliancic, he's not letting that go.
Oh, Stone, huge slide. He's going to lose his spot just based on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Charlie has been looking a little bit vulnerable through the boot most of the race here. And Taliancic, all the tyres he may have, but he's going to capitalise. White flag in the air. Going to be Brad Ryan to take that flag and get the last lap of the race underway as the fight for 2nd continues on. James Chastanoff holding off Thomas Freeman, looking to defend down at turn number 1 after what we saw last lap. Freeman puts it in there anyways. Are we going to get a repeat of what we just saw last lap by? Chastanoff's ahead, though. He's going to be able to take the line up the hill. I'm going to jump on board with Chastanoff. If there's a lift, it's incredibly marginal. I don't think he lifted. I don't think there was a lift from Chasnoff, and that explains once again the lead is able to pull out down the back straight, protect the line through the inner loop. Closes off one major opportunity for Freeman. He's going to have to find something here at the end of the lap. Meanwhile,
Young,
the
nearly
fight,
going to get this spot.
yeah, the fight is still on. It's now for P7 between, Charlie Stone and Paul Young. But the fight for second, obviously, is still where our attention is. Leader getting through some lap traffic, meanwhile up ahead, but looks like that's all being navigated fairly cleanly. Although, having said that, Rich Minkler is slow on the exit of the boot. He's pulled it up on the inside of the track surface. Hopefully the guys here can get past without too much drama. The answer is yes. Now, why has Rich Minkler pulled it up, I wonder? Is he out of fuel, perhaps? Because that's an odd decision to just stop and wait. In fact, he ejects back to the pits.
Yeah, I think he's running short on fuel. Definitely had some damage to that car as well, so it probably hasn't helped us. Here comes
Freeman looking for the inside. Oh, I think there was contact. But Chasnoff keeps the car straight and looks like he's going to hold on here. It's going to have to be a last corner lunge. Meanwhile, Brad Ryan up in front of the field, uncontested, is going to take the race win and the checkered flag today. But Freeman, final dive at the final corner. He's not going to be able to make it work here. It's going to be James Chasnoff to hold on to second place there. Excellent fight and defense from him. Thomas Freeman will have to settle for third place.
Oh, here we go.
Look back through. Tixier, it's a side-by-side drag to the line. Can Paul Young do it? I don't think he can. Oh, that was close. But it's going to be Charlie Stone by 3/100ths of a second.
What a great battle they had. Charlie Stone, he'll probably be disappointed. Remember, he was fighting for third a long while ago. But Brad Ryan, you can have a little bit of TV time, mate. Known Brad for a long time, so he'll be really happy with that win. James Chasnoff, what a fight he had there at the end with Thomas Freeman. And I think Premier will be looking at this after the race and going, what have we done wrong setup-wise to not be able to push as hard as we can? As hard as the other guys through that one section of the track. Because everyone else looked so much better than they did through the S's. But the rest of the track, they looked absolutely brilliant. So what a race that was. That was a really fun start to the season.
Absolutely, Jay. For a first broadcast, can't be happier with the quality of racing we got to see here up and down the field. So your results on screen, it's Brad Ryan starting from pole and going pretty much lights to flag apart from the pit cycle there. 10.6 seconds back to James Chasnoff in second. Thomas Freeman only 0.3 behind in comparison to round out the podium today. Tixier in fourth, holding on to that position after his little incident up the S's all by himself. It's going to be Hins in fifth, followed by Taliancic, Stone, Young, Maguire and McNamara rounding out the top 10.
We've got Stephen Banks in 11th. Dale Green did lose a spot in the end there from Banks. He'll finish in 12th. Kenatake finishes in 13th. Andrew Ritchie, remember he was in the wars early on from that incident involving Melford and Heddershide through the bus stop. He's the last driver on the lead lap. Rich Minkler out of fuel on the last lap. And Melford, Coleman, Heddershide and Whiting all ran into issues throughout that race. What a fantastic race it was. What a fun night of racing we've had to start this season off. As we said before, next week we will not be broadcasting due to Christmas. We're at Laguna Seca, but round 3 will be back on New Year's Day. And I'm trying to remember where we said we were going to be. I'm just trying to think. Phillip Island. What a start to the new year.
Yes, I mean, well, New Year's Eve, perhaps still, if we've got any Americans who will be joining us once again for that round, whether that be on track or perhaps listening in on air. But yes, it's going to be a good start to the year. Home of V8 racing here in Australia. Perhaps not the home that is Mount Panorama Bathurst, but Phillip Island, a classic track that the Supercars always deliver at. Looking forward to it. And that's been round number 1 of the iRacing Supercars Series from Watkins Glen. Jay, thank you very much for having me on. Been a pleasure to be able to provide commentary for this race. I hope you guys have all enjoyed. And hope to be back for round number 3.
Yep, can't wait to be back again in 2 weeks' time. Big thank you to the iRacing V8 community as well for supporting us with this broadcast and getting involved in the racing. We can't wait to see another bumper field for our next broadcast in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget to tomorrow morning, Australian time, Saturday night in America, or Saturday afternoon in America, Saturday evening in Europe, the commencement of the all-new iRacing Grand Prix Series make sure you watch that one with the all-new car, the Mercedes W12. And that will be our next broadcast tomorrow. Until then, we thank you very, very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?